There we go. All right. Good evening. I call to order the City Council meeting for City of West Jordan. Tonight is Wednesday, September 13th, 2023. Most members of the council are here in person. We're joined by, well, we'll run through Councilmember Whitelock, Councilmember Green, Councilmember McConaughey, Councilmember Bloom in person. We have Councilmember Worthen online, Councilmember Pack and Councilmember Jacob are anticipated to be joining us shortly. We're also joined by council office staff, by Mayor Burton, various members of his staff, and various members of the public. So we will start this evening with the Pledge of Allegiance, and the Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Abe Rawlings. Abe, if you would.
Can everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Everyone can be seated.
Thank you, Abe. Councilmembers Hack and Jacob have joined us as well, so we are all present. We are going to go to item of special recognition, where it's been proposed that Mercedes Maestas and Abe Rawlings are proposed to be appointed to serve on the Healthy West Jordan Committee. Do we have an introduction from the mayor's office?
Ariel, would you take that for us, please? Yes.
In council, we have two people who are interested in joining the Healthy West Jordan Committee. I think they'll be great helps, and I'll explain why. Mercedes is our first one. She is a health educational professional, from the South Lake County Department of Health. I believe she'll bring a lot of perspective and resources to our committee, which will help us reach further out to our communities here in West Jordan. So I see her as a very valuable committee member that could really propel us forward, especially in this month where we have two events going on. It would be a great help to have her and her perspective and the resources that she can bring to our committee and helping us gather and unify our residents together. And to talk furthermore about her, she has her bachelor's degrees from University of Utah, which she got in May, and she is anticipated to graduate from Washington State University with a master's degree in 2024, which is brilliant. It's a lot of work, so we're excited to have her on the committee. And then second, we have Abe. Abe is a director of prevention education for SVS. He has experience with prime communication and social media campaigns, and I feel like that would be a great addition to our committee in helping us, again, do our outreach to our community and make sure that we can get as many people organically to our events and to our resources that we provide as a city. Abe has his bachelor's degree from Utah Valley University, and he got 2023. So recently, congratulations. So this is why I propose these two candidates to join the Healthy West Jordan Committee in helping further reach our residents more efficiently.
All right. Councilmember Pack, has the Committee on Mayoral Appointments had an opportunity to review the applications?
Yes, thanks for asking, Chair McConaughey. After conferring with Councilmember Jacob and Councilmember Bloom, with whom I serve on the Mayoral Appointments Subcommittee, we're grateful for the individuals that have been presented who want to step up and help us be healthier. So thank you for your desire to serve.
All right. I would then look to the council for any questions for the applicants or perhaps a motion on resolution 23-051. Councilmember Green.
I move to approve resolution 23-051, providing advice and consent to appoint Mercedes Maestas and Abraham Rawlings to the Healthy West Jordan Committee.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Green, second by Councilmember Bloom. Any discussion to the motion? Seeing none. Ms. Quick, can you walk us through a vote?
Councilmember Worthen.
Yes.
Councilmember Pack.
Yes.
Councilmember Jacob.
Yes.
Councilmember Green.
Yes.
Vice Chair Bloom.
Yes.
Councilmember Whitelock.
Yes.
And Chair McConaughey.
Aye.
Thank you. That motion passes 7-0.
All right. So what we'd like to do real quick is we'll have the council come up front and have you come up to do a quick picture. Since this did pass unanimously, we'll have the resolution printed and each of us will sign that. That signing will probably happen when we meet next week. So about a week and a half, 2 weeks, you should be getting a signed formal copy of the resolution appointing you two to serve on the Healthy West Jordan Committee. But for now, council, let's stand up front for a picture. We're always excited when there are people who are willing to serve in various capacities throughout the city. We have a lot of opportunities with some of the different committees that we have. So if there's anything that anyone listening to feels passionate about, whether it's Healthy West Jordan Committee or whether it's the rodeo or whether it's the budget, please contact either the council office or the mayor's office. There's plenty of places for everybody to serve. With that, we'll move on to citizen comment. This is the time for anybody who'd like to speak to the council to share any thoughts, ideas, suggestions, concerns, just whatever happens to be on your mind. It does not have to be on the agenda. It can be on the agenda, but it doesn't have to be. We do have 2 public hearings that we're going to have later tonight, and we'll have a separate comment time just for those 2 items. Those are the changes to the PRD zones for lot standards, and then we'll have another one about permitting daycare in M1 zones. So if you want to speak to either of those items, we'd encourage you to wait till the public hearing. Although if you need to speak now, you can. You just can't speak for the same item in both places. So during the citizen comment time, you can speak on any topic, whether on the agenda or not, for up to 3 minutes. You don't have to use the full time, but you can go up to that 3 minutes. Typically, we just listen to you. We're not here to engage in any back and forth. We'll listen, hear what you have to say. It's if there are specific questions that need to be addressed by staff, we may ask for staff to reach out and get your contact information. We'll start with those who are here in person, but for those who are online, if you'd like to speak during citizen comments, please push the hand icon to indicate that you'd like to speak. We'll come back to those who are online here in just a moment. But we'll start with those who are here in the room. Is there anybody that would like to address the council this evening? Not seeing anybody in chambers yet, so we'll go to those who are online, and we'll start with Mr. Ryan Wilkinson. Let me hit the button to allow you to speak. You should be able to unmute yourself now. All right, and it looks like you've done so. So Mr. Wilkinson, if you would, please introduce yourself, and you'll have up to 3 minutes.
Yes. Hello, I'm Ryan. Yeah, I want to discuss the airplane crash that occurred on August 23rd. This happened at about 12:30 p.m. In West Jordan. I won't mention the pilot's name, but he had just taken off from the South Valley Regional Airport there in your community when he crashed. According to the National Transportation Safety Board, the plane went through a fence, crossed the street, and came to rest on the northern edge of the street. The purpose of the flight was to test the engine, which he had overhauled in preparation for the Reno air races. He had built, rebuilt, and tinkered with it, getting it ready for the upcoming national championship air races at Reno. The airplane had been flown in other Formula One races around the world. The aircraft raced in the Formula One category, where the airplanes can reach speeds in excess of 250 miles per hour. Forgive the sloppy writing in that article. That wasn't me. But to reiterate a couple things, I talked about this a few weeks ago. This pilot was from out of town. He comes into West Jordan. He uses your community as a proving ground for his aircraft experiment, a plane that can go in excess of 250 miles per hour. The experiment failed, and he, due to the failure, he got to lie in one of your city streets dead for a couple of hours. This was all over the news. I was informed by a friend of his that he had been involved in at least 2 previous crashes, one in 2018 near Utah Lake, and one at the Reno air races in 2019, which was described as a mid-air collision. So this is the kind of aviation testing and training that goes on in your community over your constituents' heads almost every day. Pilots with reputations for recklessness, histories of crashes like the one involved in the crash 3 weeks ago, routinely use your city as a training ground. West Jordan makes a pittance on these flights. I think it was around $16,000 in the 2022 calendar year. And they expose the city's residents to numerous risks, many other problems. So most municipal airports have moratoriums, curfews, injunctions, all kinds of things that exist to protect the public from things like this. They'll allow some aviation activities, but they'll put restrictions and moratoriums on certain things. I'm curious, has West Jordan City pursued anything like that? I know it's not your airport, but it is your community where these crashes are happening. 6 in the last 18 months associated with that airport. My question is, does the city have liability for allowing these known dangerous conditions to persist in its community? That might be a good question for your legal team to answer. I'd be curious to have anyone respond to this. Why do you let this go on in your community without getting any benefit? Please feel free to respond. Thank you, guys.
All right, and that was near perfect timing. Thank you, Mr. Wilkinson. A couple of good questions. I saw our city attorney noting his head, or our city attorneys, I saw his head movement acknowledging the questions that were presented. I know he's got your contact information, so I'll let him determine the best way to follow up with regard to some of the liability question. Is there anybody else online or in person that would like to address the city council? I'm not seeing any hands raised online, nor a rush to the podium in council. So we will close the citizen comment period and move to reports to city council. We'll start with reports from the city council. Any council members want to report on what's happened over the last couple of weeks since we met? We'll start with council member Green.
Thank you, Chair. Just a couple of reports. It was a great honor to be able to go to Utah National Guard's Governor's Day and represent the city at Camp Williams over the weekend. that particular event not only included a change of command with the Utah National Guard with the new Adjutant General, but also celebrated the Utah National Guard's 20th anniversary of the state partnership program with Morocco, and so it was a historic Governor's Day, shortest one I've been to, and probably almost one of the shortest ones I've been to in 40 years. So that was interesting as well. And there's some other things that I'll share that occurred that the council might be interested in a little later on. Yesterday, we had the Association of Municipal Councils, and the topic was wildfire mitigation in Salt Lake County. And the first thing that comes to my mind when you see wildfire mitigation in Salt Lake County is, and there was one city that expressed it out loud in the meeting, and it had actually run through my mind is, what does wildfire mitigation have to do with us when most of the wildfires occur in the canyons? Well, they actually pointed out, and it was very enlightening to realize that we have a good stretch of the Jordan River and the Jordan River Parkway that actually is a wildfire hazard. And as we had a presentation from the State Department of Forestry, Fire Service, or whatever the heck they are with the Department of Natural Resources, one community was surprised. And so I will just tell you, Chief Maxfield, I'm glad that we did not choose to opt out with the wildfire mitigation plan with the state of Utah. There were a couple other council people that were surprised that their city opted out and said, I think we're going to go try and fix that. But, and so for those of you that don't know on the council, we are part of a cooperative agreement with the Utah, because the way the Jordan River is mainly owned by the state, but the river itself is, but we have the banks and everything else. The state has this cooperative agreement, and we entered in a cooperative agreement, and our cost in that cooperative agreement is about $5,000, but they give us credit for activities that we do to help mitigate wildfires along the Jordan River, education, and those kind of things. I can tell I'm not too far off because I see Chief Maxfield's head going this way instead of this way. So, but the nice thing is that if you didn't know, because of that cooperative agreement, although we're responsible for fires along the Jordan River in our city, if it goes longer than 24 hours or requires extra help, because we have opted into that cooperative agreement and dedicated that insurance premium, if you will, of money that we've already allocated, the state will step in and help firefight and help offset the costs. And so that's a real benefit to our city. And so that just, thanks for joining. Because I understand that's just been in the last 6 or 8 weeks that they ended up doing that. So thanks for having the foresight to opt in. And not surprising is that we didn't. And it seems like a good program, and it does make us aware when you think about what's happened in Hawaii and other places with wildfires. Do we need to have discussions on ways that we can help mitigate fires and reduce fuel loads in the city? And I think as we talk about community involvement later on as a result of the survey, that one of the things that we could do with community involvement, I'll just throw that out now, is the projects that we could do to help mitigate fire loads and help reduce the wildfire dangers in West Jordan. So it was just a thought. And then last but not least, I appreciate that the opportunity that there were there were 3 of us today that had the opportunity to meet with the new CEO at got to get it right, Holy Cross Hospital, Jordan Valley. And it was great to talk to them and get to know them and their commitments to our community. And that is great. And that was great to be able to be part of that. So thank you. That's my report.
Councilmember Whitelock.
Thank you. And actually, she's the COO.
Oh, I thought she was CEO of the hospital.
She introduced herself as COO. I think they're pretty close in what they do. So she's the charge lady in charge there at the hospital at any rate. Seemed like a great person. Had the opportunity to go to Utah Leagues of Cities and Towns. It was interesting to hear a lot of the discussion. And the one thing that I feel is missing from the discussion on housing, we hear how we need housing, and we all know that, right? We all know that we need housing, but the number that they never share is the number of entitled units. So I reached out and said, hey, Mr. Langsford, they're having a lot of discussions. Can you tell me how many entitled units we have? And he sent me something that he had prepared for Tawny. And our entitled units, just in case you're in those discussions, you can share this. Yeah, 8,933. So I would say, yes, there might be a housing issue, but it, I think, is more on the building end than on the city giving entitlements. So as we speak to our elected officials on the state level, I think it's a good thing to continue to share. Oftentimes, as the league points out, who they hear from is lobbyists a lot. And if I'm a lobbyist, I'm pushing my agenda. So when you talk to them, if you're interested in this, I can either forward the document to you or Mr. Langsford could, or Tawny, but it's an important discussion that I think we keep there. Do you have something, Chris?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how to politely interject to underscore, highlight, bold, italicize, and circle in red that number that you threw out there. How many units are approved in West Jordan, just in West Jordan?
8,933 entitled units.
Just shy of 9,000 units.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. And we continue to work on the child care subcommittee, working towards giving good data and input to the legislative committee that has been assigned to that task. As most of you are probably aware, our 45-day legislature really is meeting almost every month now, and they meet in these subcommittees. I also can't remember exactly the number of bills that are already bill files, but it's like almost 800. I think it's a huge number that have already been filed. And the session doesn't start till January. So look for a lot of bills coming our way. But thanks to those, Councilmember Bloom submitted some ideas, and I submitted those to the committee. So thank you.
Councilmember Jacob.
Thank you. I walked in just 30 seconds late because the Jordan Valley Water Board meeting went long, as it sometimes does, but not very often. It's nice that they try and wrap up on time. Just wanted to convey that we're finishing the water year now in the next 2.5, 3 weeks. And we have done remarkably well, even though we have had a record water year when it comes to the amount of precipitation we received. The habits from our drought years have stuck for a lot of us for outdoor water use and things like that. So we are starting off the next water year with full-ish reservoirs. We're starting off in a wonderful position. If we even have an average snow year this time around, we will be at tip-top shape for next spring. So, and that's because the conservation habits that we got into during the drought years has really stuck and has really kind of affected the way we all treat our outdoor water usage. And so keep up the good work, kind of a thing, and keep going forward. But we're doing really, really well in the water department right
So I'll report that I believe in council office report, Mr. Anderson will talk about the tour of the water tank, but kind of to dovetail with Councilmember Jacobs' comments about water. This council did approve changes to requirements for new construction. So those 9,000 new units will be required to have water-wise landscapes, which will help continue the trajectory that we're on to continue conserving water. Councilmember Green pointed out the fire hazards, which I think it was about 2 years ago, was it, Mayor, that we did have a fire over on the Jordan River. It was just on the Midvale side of the new bridge that was being constructed about 7900 South. We had a crew that was welding, and that went for a lot farther than it should have. But we also have a lot of canals in the city, and there's ample opportunity for danger, but we have a fantastic fire department, so thanks to them. And then also the comment reminded me of about Morocco. Reminded me of when I had a chance to meet with some officials, and they're very quick to point out that as a country, they were the first ones to recognize the United States as an independent country, and they have a very special relationship with the state of Utah because the National Guard is has a permanent training program with them. So we have a very special relationship with that country. So I don't see any other lights for council reports. Councilmember Worthen, did you have anything? I'm not seeing a hand up there. Otherwise, I'll assume no.
No, I'm good.
All right. So we'll go to Council Director Anderson for his report to council.
Thank you, council, and staff that's here. I just would like first to introduce Mr. Warren Hallmark as our new policy analyst. He began on the 28th of August, towards the end of August. So he's been with us for a couple weeks. I had him attend the Utah League of Cities and Towns event last week, and I will let him introduce himself and his experience to you.
Council, I've met most of you, and I look forward to meeting those few of you that I haven't in person here shortly. But as Alan mentioned, my name is Warren Hallmark, no relation to the card company, unfortunately. I have been here, as Alan mentioned, about 3 weeks. The mayor seems impressed that I keep showing up. So good things about Alan and his staff. Prior to coming to West Jordan, I was with Ogden City. I was a policy analyst with their city council office up there. And among other things, I helped reboot their youth council, which is a task that I will have here in the near future. But excited to have made this move to be here in West Jordan. My wife and I, we live off of 13th West, 8600 South. We figured out the construction over there. We're looking forward to it being done. Prior to Ogden, I was with the Cottonwood Heights Parks and Recreation Service Area, which is a special taxing district. And that's where I began to see the inner workings of local government, working with Cottonwood Heights City as they were a separate entity. I went back to school, got my master's degree from BYU, graduated this past spring, and I'm excited to be here living and working in West Jordan and continuing to work with you guys beyond just the 3 weeks so far. Thanks for having me.
Okay, next thing I just want to touch on briefly is he mentioned youth council. We did receive, when we last talked about this with the council had given us some guidance to work with legal to work through some of the issues. We got that taken care of with the legal department. We have updated documents. Mr. Hallmark has been working on a youth council schedule. I have reached out to the Jordan district so that they can support our application and work with us in recruiting. We're also working on meeting with the student government advisors at both West Jordan High School and the Copper Hills High School. And so we're moving forward, and Warren has a calendar, and we'll get some additional information out to the council. Two last things that I'd like to, well, three. That I want to share on my screen. It's a feature that you may or may not be aware of. I showed this at cabinet meeting this past Tuesday. This is our PrimeGov public meeting agenda. And if you recall, with the Census Bureau and the citizen survey, there's 25% of our population that is Hispanic. And so we have this, I can find my pointer, this HTML interactive agenda, which I know you're all familiar with and the public's familiar with, or hopefully. But we're able now with PrimeGov be able to select a language, so you can choose the language that you would like to see the agenda in. So, for example, if I want to put it into Spanish, and I get that Google Translate is not perfect, but I am appreciative that Google Translate will give enough information to members of the public that would like to see what the council's business is doing. So this is one feature that I wanted to show you. As long as we're using the HTML part of the agenda within PrimeGov, we can convert to pretty much any language. So that's the first thing.
So, Alan, is there a way when you're on that previous page, is there a way that we could have that? Is there a way that we can code that on that page someplace that says that points out just what you did? I mean, you know where I'm going with that is if you want it in a foreign language, click, just some instruction someplace.
I'm glad you bring that up, because Miss Quick is actually working on a video that we will hopefully add to YouTube here when we get it all finished, that actually explains how to look at packets, how to view them. We can add how to convert the language. That is pretty close. She has a sample that's already done that we've been working on.
Cool.
So that'll probably just be on the YouTube channel rather than the PrimeGov. We don't have a lot of control of the PrimeGov interface.
Somehow make it obviously available.
Yes.
And Cindy, if you need help translating anything into Spanish, let me know. I'll throw my wife under the bus. She's pretty good at that.
I wish Ari was here. He knows about this, right? For community outreach. Is he aware of this?
I will make sure he does if he doesn't.
Okay, I know. I wish he was still here.
Shared in the mayor's cabinet, right?
I shared it to Mayor's Cabinet. He's not in Mayor's Cabinet. That would be all the department heads, but I'll make sure that Ariel knows that, Mr. Campos. The other thing I wanted to share before I do the pictures of the water tank is I did go into City Hall. You can see the carpet is in the council suite. They're still working in the council chambers. These are the council office or council members' lockers that we will have in the council suite when we move back to City Hall. So each council member will have a locker. You can lock it. You can put your purses, wallets, computers. You can keep a suit coat and a tie in there if you would like. I want to show a little bit of the progress. I joked with the mayor that when the electrical panel arrives that maybe we should have a big celebration or parade and big party with the electrical panel, but I wanted to show that. And then we mentioned the water tank tour. And so this is the new tank in Zone 6. This is a 3 million gallon tank. Mr. Davenport invited members of the council to tour that. Some of you had toured that before the roof had been installed. Mr. Davenport is here, and I know, at least I haven't talked to him recently since this tour, but they're testing for leaks during the next week or two. And if it passes that, then by the end of the month, it will be full of water and servicing the residents in the city. And it can withstand, you said, a 7.5 earthquake, so that we can still deliver water when emergencies occur. So that is my council office report for this evening, unless you have any questions or want to give us further direction, 4 of you. Thank you.
All right. We'll move over to mayor's report.
Thank you. Do you have pictures for me? There'll be a picture perfect report again. So Demolition Derby, that was sold out. We had a great attendance there. Weather was great. The show was the best that we've ever had before, so we're looking forward to it. The audience was great. Some of you who were there saw some things that you may not have seen happen at Demolition Derbies before. It was enjoyable. We got to see a car get flipped over. That was amusing. So there's that.
I assume the car that got flipped over was not a Dodge.
They did not dodge it, but they did ram it. Hey, the Salt Lake City Airport put up this fantastic arch there to represent the Olympics and to welcome them back. And I had the opportunity of representing our city there at this. And this is a great thing. And I told them when they were done, they should get something just like that, just a bit smaller, and put it South Valley Regional Airport. They didn't listen to me. Next, we have the privilege of working with some Brazilian SWAT team who is with our West Jordan Police Department being trained. They were here for 2 weeks, and most of them couldn't understand me when I spoke to them, but they were very nice and nodded and said yes anyway. Our police department is well known throughout the country on how good our police chief does on training them, but as you can see, they're also known internationally. Copper Hills High School had their homecoming on August 31st, and I got the privilege of going out and watching them light their CH. So there's the Copper Hills. They light it and let it burn. And yes, the fire department was on standby while that happened, and there were no incidences. And West Jordan's homecoming is this week. The First Friday events continue to happen. Oh, you guys really want to come to these. It was great. This one here was the Hot House West Swing Orchestra, and they were superb. In fact, I had some people come up to me and say, "Where are they from again?" And I said, "They are a local orchestra." And they were amazed that local orchestras could sound that good. But, you know, the theory from afar doesn't work that way when it's in Utah. So we're privileged to do that. And next month will be coming up on October 6th. And we hope you can make it there. And it'll be Broadway and beyond. So if you like Broadway music, who doesn't? You'll want to come here and enjoy that. We had the suicide prevention walk was at the Veterans, I think in Western for some reason, at the Veterans Memorial Park. And they had a record number of people show up to that, as you can see by this here. We're fortunate they're coming here. The park they used to go to before, they didn't feel like they were welcomed. So we welcomed them here in West Jordan with open arms. And there's lots of people in West Jordan that are involved in this, and a lot of people that come from outside the city who participate in this as well. This is something important. All of us have probably been with someone who's attempted or committed suicide, and it's a very painful thing, and working together with other people to get through that is important, and helping keep others from getting there. Saturday on September 9th, we had a couple of thousand volunteers come and help clean up over the big band. This is just one of the weed piles that were a result of that. But the turnout was there, was really good. We had a lot of people show up and a lot of weeds were removed. If you haven't been on the part that's opened up now, I encourage you to go down the Jordan River Trail and go take a view on how that looks and the progress we're making. We're also making progress on the other side of the fence, which you'll get to see probably next year. And then as Councilmember Green and Whitelock mentioned, we had the opportunity to meet with the new COO. It says CEO on there, but you're right, Councilmember Whitelock. She is the COO. And she wants to work with our community in improving things here. So I will be getting her in contact with Ariel and making sure that we get to do that and help our community to work together with this hospital, who is going to be a faith-based hospital that's nonprofit. They said they'll be putting compassion into their services. Upcoming events, I mentioned the West Jordan High School homecoming. I hope some of you, or all of you, I should say, have been invited to the Oak Hills Elementary PTA Carnival. That was Friday, September 15th. That should be a fun deal. This Saturday is Monster Truck. If you don't have your tickets, there are a couple left. Hurry real quick. That'll be fun and exciting. I hope to see you there. The Jordan River Scavenger Hunt Parkway is in progress right now. That goes through the month. If you go on the Jordan River Trail, you'll see this QR code on some signs. You click on that. It's a photo scavenger hunt. I've done it. It was a lot of fun. Take lots of pictures, and then you submit them in. And it's amazing what you will find on that Jordan River Trail. One of the pictures is to find a mammal. And I was talking to a gentleman with his dog walking down there. I said, I want to take a picture of your dog because I want to get a mammal. He said, you'd be a lot better doing that deer right behind you. And I turned around and there was a big buck. So I got that picture instead. The Jordan River Fun Walk is on September 23rd from 9 to noon. If you haven't done your photos by then, you can do it while you do your fun walk. It would be a double fun at that time. This month is the final month for our food trucks. Make sure you get out there every Tuesday this month. When the month is over, the food truck's over for the year. So I hope you can make it. And do you have a picture of the Grace Company? Oh, so Grace Company, we know we've been waiting for it. This is what they look like inside. They are making progress. It will soon be ready to open. I can't give you a date yet because they didn't give me one. But progress is happening. And we are happy to have them be here in our city. That is my report. Thank you, Chair McConaughey.
Right, CAO's report from Mr. Lee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I've sent a couple of emails to the council today. One, giving you an update on the Community Arts and Events Center, its progress status, and some information about design, size, scope. Secondly, an update on grants. We get some inquiries about grants being applied for or have been received by the city. It's been a while since we've given you a good update on that. So if you haven't seen that, watch those emails. I'd like Brian to give you an update on a couple of things happening in Public Works, and also Greg to give you an update on an area of concern in the water line maintenance area.
It's my second council meeting. I got it figured out now. Thanks, Council Chair and Council. I just want to give you a couple quick updates on the 7800 South widening project. The plans are in PS&E stage, which is the plan specification estimations. That is the final stage before the plans will be ready to bid out. So we're hoping to bid this project. The widening project will be bid out in January, starting spring of 24. Before that happens, Greg has got to go in and there's a sewer line project that needs to take place, which is going to start earlier, and we'll follow behind with the widening if everything works out as planned. The only holdup that could be is some acquisition with Rocky Mountain Power, which staff is working through right now. That's the only acquisition we have to, property acquisition that we have to purchase for this road widening. So are there any questions on that?
Brian, that's the one at Mountain View, the widening project that just at 78 on Mountain View, right?
It goes from Highland Loop Road to 6700 West. Yeah. So I know it's been long in the works, and staff's finally making some good headway on it. So we'll be in construction hopefully next year.
If there's any problems with acquisition, I'm sure the residents would be happy to help.
One last thing. Secondly, you folks should have received an email today on the green waste fire. Nothing's changing our end with the hauler on picking up green waste, and we're moving forward with continually picking it up. So that's the latest on that. So any questions?
No.
Thank you.
Mr. Davenport.
Just to report on some things that have happened in the last month or the last time I've seen you. We have a subdivision that is very old in West Jordan. It was built in about 1960, and before the subdivision went in, there was actually a water line before the street was even put in. So I'm not quite sure how old that line is, but it's at least from the 1960s. A few years ago, we started to see that there were problems in that street, and we had a couple of failures. Because of that, we replaced about 500 feet of water line. We're seeing the same problems happening on the east end of that road as well. And so we're working on a design to remove and replace the rest of the water line on that street. It's just one street in that subdivision, which is still very old. this is the first subdivision that we've had to go in as a water department and hire people or fix ourselves. It'll be the first in many of us going in and starting that. So if you do hear from the residents, we are working on the design. We've been working on the design for a few weeks, even before the last break. I can't guarantee that there won't be further breaks on that line because it's very old and it breaks when it breaks. Questions?
Yes. How many times has it broken in the last 6 weeks?
It has broken 3 times in the last 6 weeks.
How far apart are these breaks in terms of like mileage?
So the first break was probably 100 feet away from Redwood Road. The next break was probably 200 feet. And the last break is probably 400 feet as you go east from Redwood Road. So we're going down properties. We skipped the property on the last one.
0.0189 miles apart, roughly.
Right.
And 3 times last 6 weeks. How many times in the last 2 years has this line broken? Different places.
It hasn't quite been 2 years, I guess. But again, we had 3 breaks that happened almost 2 years ago, and those happened all in the same week, and they all happened on the same residence. And then we didn't have any more breaks until 6 weeks ago.
So is this Leland Drive? Is that where
it is? Leland Drive. So if you get an email from residents, we are working on it. And again, we were working on it before this happened. Some of the money that you gave us this year in the budget year is to do some of that work. It just takes a little while. Unfortunately, our water department is set up to do repair. So we're really good at repair. If something breaks, we fix it. Within most likely 6 hours, we've got water back on from a break. In replacing a whole water line, there are state rules that we have to follow. The first thing is we have to get a design done, and that should be stamped by a professional engineer. Then we have to follow all the city bidding practices and hire a contractor and doing it ourselves. And then it takes time to do the work. So that is why when we have the first break, we don't just go out and replace all the line in this subdivision, but we are working. The mayor's asked us to try and replace this water line this year, and we'll do our best to meet that schedule. We'll see how that works.
Calendar year or budget year?
Calendar year.
Awesome.
He's got high hopes for us. That may mean we have to do a temporary patch in the roadway. So to give you an update on that, again, before the last break, we had already surveyed the road. We still have to find out the existing utilities in the road from the providers that are not from West Jordan before we can complete a design. We've already started to order the parts for that. I'll probably use in-stock parts because the setters that go into the water meters have taken us a year to order in, and I don't want to wait a whole year to get those parts. So we have some in-house, and I'll try and use what we have in-house and then restock when those other parts come in. It'll probably take at least 2 months to do construction, and we've asked and got approval from the mayor to close the road when we do that, because there's only 2 lanes of traffic, and 1 lane will be for the water line, which is where it'll go. The other lane will be for cars to get in and out, right, and for our construction vehicles. So if you're a local traffic, we'll let you go on that road and be fine. But if you're someone who doesn't live along Leland Drive, we're going to ask you to take another route.
2 more questions. First one's, I know as Google Fiber is working to get deployed throughout the city, could we give them a heads up that there's likely to be some asphalt work going on over here? So if they could hit this one sooner rather than later,
yes,
it might be worth consideration.
Okay. I don't know that we can blow through there at the same time because that
maybe not. So but if they have like our overlay schedules or our significant rework schedules,
we do that as a matter of course with Google Fiber. As part of their commitment is to lay down fiber prior to any overlays and things like that. Yes.
That is awesome. I know asphalt's Ryan, so I shouldn't have had to worry about that at all.
He was getting up here to talk, right? We'll probably do a temporary patch before Thanksgiving, hopefully, and then what we'll do is we'll come back in May and mill and overlay the whole street so it looks really nice.
And then I don't know if you can answer this publicly, but how many of those breaks were the fault of Chad Lamb?
I do know that Chad actually reported the very last break. I appreciate that he did that because we got there so quickly that the water didn't even get all the way
to his house from that
Nobody
break.
found it suspicious that he was reporting and didn't think that maybe he caught. Anyway, maybe not a discussion for here. Councilmember Green.
Is Chad listening? That was what my question was.
There is a Chad who is online, so I'm assuming. All right. Thank you, Greg.
Yeah. Any other questions? All right.
All right, Mr. Lee. Oh, Mayor.
Councilmember Jacob was also at that meeting saying he sent a correction on that title. If it's okay for him to give us that correction on the title of
Yes, please, Councilmember Jacob.
Christine McSweeney, she is the CEO of the hospital. Her last two positions, she was COO of her last two hospitals she worked at. She's CEO now. So.
Thank you.
Nothing further. Thank you.
All right, that wraps up the reports to City Council. That brings us now to public hearings, of which we have two. The first one is regarding ordinance 23-26, which is updating the planned development zone for bulk standards. Mr. Langford.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Council, it's good to be with you. The proposed text amendments have been in the works since spring, and so I won't go over the details unless the council wishes it. But essentially, the word, if I were to use one word to describe the proposed amendment before you today, it's consistency. We have our planned development zones in the city are divided into our PC or planned community and our PRD, planned residential development. The main difference between these two planned development zones is that the PC is meant for larger scale. It incorporates oftentimes the commercial component. But honestly, as you go back in time, the residential components of both of those zones really you technically could swap them in and out. There were some differences though if we looked at the lot and bulk standards for PRD versus PC, and so based on a lot of conversation with many of you, we've tried to encapsulate a more consistent approach with our lot and bulk standards. Basically, it's a starting point that the development community can kind of rely on, and if they can prove that they need adjustments to those setbacks starting at 22 feet, then they have that opportunity to bring those to the council and justify a deviation from the starting number of 22 feet. As we looked at trying to be consistent, we expanded the scope of our text amendment to include all of our what we call our Euclidean or our standard R1 residential lot and bulk standards, to have at least a minimum setback from the street of 22 feet. The only exception that our normal R1 zones have for front yard setbacks are those lots located on a cul-de-sac or a knuckle. And the rationale behind that reduced front yard setback in those situations is that on a cul-de-sac or knuckle, you've got that pie or wedge-shaped lot. And so just playing with a square box of a home on a regular shaped pie lot, we've allowed that to have a shorter front yard setback. Currently, as you read in the code, we've allowed historically all the way down to 20 feet. We feel again, bumping that up to 22 feet, literally this wide, is an extra setback is not going to make a significant challenge to our homes that typically come in for building permits. So again, we started back in March. We had that meeting, a committee of the whole in March. We brought it to a council subcommittee in May. In June, end of June, we brought the draft amendments back to this committee of the whole, and then we refined a few things, brought it to the Planning Commission in August. The Planning Commission has forwarded positive recommendation for these amendments, and we've concurred that this would be a good, consistent step forward. And I'm here to answer any questions that you might have tonight.
I am not seeing any questions, any lights? I know Councilmember Whitelock and Worthen helped bring this up, or Bloom, excuse me. All right. Well, if there are no questions for staff, we'll now go to the public hearing. If anybody would like to speak on the proposed changes here, now is your time to do so. Similar to citizen comment, you'll have up to 3 minutes, but comments are to be focused on this particular topic. If you'd like to speak on this, please hit the button to raise your hand if you're online, or if you're here in the room, feel free to come up to the microphone and we'll start with those who are here first. Okay, we'll give it just a second to see if anybody raises their hand online. I'm not seeing anybody in the room. Okay, I will close the public hearing and return to council for discussion or perhaps a motion. Councilmember Green.
Just a comment. Thanks for the hard work on this. One of the things that I would love to have is some discussions later on, based on this. We have a 22-foot setback, but I'm okay if it's 22 feet to the garage door. I don't care what's from the sidewalk to the front porch. And so as we start talking about walkable neighborhoods and those kind of things, I think we can start talking about those. I'd also be interested in, as this is a base, is maybe even having the ability to have narrower lots, but they're deeper. And you know, that creates a couple of other good advantages, like smaller front yards that can use less water and put all the usable yard in the back and a couple other things. So I think this is a great start to that as a base to have some further discussions on updating our setbacks. With that comment, if there's nobody else, I'm going to move to.
I've got one comment.
Go ahead.
So similar to Councilmember Green, I think it's a good start. The other thing that I hadn't considered before, like you said, not just the setback of the house, but the driveway. Some new developments have some of the developments that have like an alley load garage where that's not in the front, I don't think it's as applicable. And I think closer might make it feel a little bit more walkable as well. Or if you have a side garage where the driveway is coming back to the side of the house and then into it, I also wonder if we might be able to reduce those setbacks there. That said, I don't want perfection to be the enemy of the good. I think this is very good where we're starting. So I will go back to Councilmember Green for a motion.
So I move to approve ordinance 2326, amending city code section 13.5C1 and 13.5C5.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Green, second by Councilmember Whitelock. Any discussion to the motion? Councilmember Whitelock.
I too just want to say thank you to staff for their help on this code. I think it's a good place to be. Thank you.
And I was just going to echo and say the same thing. We did a lot of work, a lot of dialogue, and I look forward to continuing that and listening to the residents and making sure we can park our trucks. No, just kidding. I appreciate all the hard work on this.
All right. With that, let's move to Ms. Quick for a vote.
Councilmember Jacob,
Yes.
Councilmember Whitelock,
Yes.
Councilmember Pack,
Yes.
Councilmember Worthen,
Yes.
Chair McConaughey,
Aye.
Councilmember Green,
Yes.
and Vice Chair Bloom.
Yes.
Thank you. That motion passes 7-0.
All right. That brings us to our next public hearing, which is for ordinance 23-27, which would potentially allow for daycares to be located in light manufacturing zones. Mr. Gardner, I'm gonna hand you up for a bit.
So this was a council requested amendment to the zoning ordinance to have daycare in the manufacturing zones. And so the one that it will be allowed in is the M1 zone, which is probably 75-80% of all of the zoning in the light manufacturing area. The other zones, the MP and the M2 zone, require much larger lots, 5-acre minimums. And the only thing really in the MP zone is Dannon yogurt. So it's really for a large manufacturing facility. In the M1 zone, it will daycare will be a permitted use, both daycare limited and daycare general, which covers the whole gamut of daycare. Daycare limited is up to 12 children. Daycare general is 12 children or above. So usually daycare limited is for residential zones with home occupations, but they can do either in the M1 zone. At the request of the council, they also wanted me to look at other zones where we may be missing daycare. I couldn't, all the commercial zones allow it, residential, planned community zone, office zone. So it's not really prohibited in any of those major use zones. The planning commission met probably a month ago, and they, by a unanimous decision, recommend approval of this ordinance. Do you have any questions for me?
I don't have any questions, but I do just want to say thank you for bringing this to us and realizing it was a need in the community and allowing us to also open it up and look at other areas in the city where we can expand this and bring childcare closer to, you know, working families and making sure that they have that opportunity. And this is why, as a resident, you speak up and help us, you know, create our community to be even better, and I appreciate all of that. So thank you again for being here and seeing the vote tonight. So
All right, so with that, no other questions from council. I will open the public hearing. If there's anybody here that would like to speak to this item, now is your time to do so. Again, if you're online and would like to speak to this, please hit the button to raise your hand to indicate you'd like to speak. If you're here in person, you're welcome to come up to the lectern to share your thoughts. All right, I'm not seeing any hands online, nor anybody rushing for the lectern in person. So we will close the public hearing and return to the council for discussion or a motion regarding ordinance 23-27. Councilmember Green.
I'm going to move to approve ordinance number 2327.
and I will second that.
Motion by Councilmember Green, second by Councilmember Bloom. I'm not seeing any lights indicating desire for discussion. Therefore, we'll move to Ms. Quick for a vote.
Councilmember Green,
Yes.
Councilmember Worthen,
Yes.
Vice Chair Bloom,
Absolutely.
Councilmember Jacob,
Yes.
Councilmember Whitelock,
Yes.
Chair McConaughey,
Aye.
Councilmember Pack.
Yes.
Thank you. That motion passes 7-0.
All right, that brings us to our business item for this evening, which is discussion on the sanitary sewer lift station code amendments. Mr. Anderson.
Thank you, council. Just a quick background. Back in March of this year, Council members Green and Whitelock introduced proposed language adding to the city code a section of code that would prohibit sewer lift stations. The minutes reflect that was tasked to staff just to make sure it review and fit with the engineering standards that they are already adopted. Currently, the engineering standards are that we do not allow lift stations to connect to the public sewer. This would codify that engineering standard. Before we take it through the task, since it has been modified slightly since the council turned it over to staff back in March, we thought we would bring the packet to you now to make sure everybody's still on the same page before we advance it to the planning commission and to back to you as the council. And that is, so it's just an update. There's no action for tonight. And Mr. Davenport is here if you have questions.
Councilmember Green.
I've looked over the proposed changes. It accomplishes what we want to accomplish. The goal was to make sure that we codify that we don't want any lift stations in the city, and I think we've accomplished that. And so there may not be any action, but we may need a motion so that we can. Yeah, never mind.
I just need 4 of you to tell us to move it through the process.
Is there anybody who is opposed or has concerns with this moving forward? I see a lot of heads shaking in the negative, so affirmative just direction to move forward.
Okay, we will I'll work with Mr. Davenport and take it through the process.
All right, that now brings us to our consent items. We have Three things. Two of them are minutes. One of them is an interlocal agreement with the Kearns Improvement District that we discussed a few weeks back and had some modifications for. Any questions on the consent items or a motion?
I move to approve consent items A and B.
A second.
Motion by Councilmember Green, second by Councilmember Bloom.
This will need a roll call since there's a resolution attached.
Yeah. Any discussion to the motion? All right, let's vote. Ms. Quick.
Councilmember Whitelock,
Yes.
Chair McConaughey,
Aye.
Councilmember Worthing,
Yes.
Councilmember Pack,
Yes.
Councilmember Jacob,
Yes.
Vice Chair Bloom,
Yes.
Councilmember Green.
Yes.
Thank you. That motion passes 7-0.
All right, that brings us to council meeting wrap up. We'll have council remarks. I see Councilmember Bloom's lights on. We'll start there, then go to Councilmember Green.
I just want to thank you. Every morning I go out and I work out and I see the various sewer or the wow, of course I just go blank on the names. The where all our water goes when it rains and all that. Thank you. Jeez. I saw a storm drain that was actually growing weeds and flowers. And every time I walk by in the morning, I'm like, oh, I forgot to report that. I forgot to report that. So I went online. I was able to, put in what I saw. And the next day, seeing them go clean out that sewer line was phenomenal. And the neighbor whose actually house was most affected was out there watching, all like happy about it. And, being able to go online and utilize that for our city is so important. And I'm glad I got to see that firsthand. And what a great job. And going out there this morning and seeing a nice, clean sewer, it was great. So I appreciate the city for doing that and all the hard work that that goes on with our staff, and it doesn't go unnoticed. And so I just wanted to give a shout out to the staff for doing that and keeping our city clean, because that could have been a really bad thing if we had a huge storm.
Councilmember Green.
It was a week ago. Some of us were able to attend the Chamber West Gala, and we had forgotten about that. And great opportunity to network with some people. But thanks to Chamber West for having us. The interesting thing is that there was at least one business. Mayor, you can correct me if I missed some. But we do know that South Valley Services was nominated for one of the businesses of the year. I think they were they were nominated as one of the businesses of the year. And I think we had another city entity, but I can't remember that right off the top of my head. What's that? I don't remember, but anyway, congratulations to those businesses of the year in Chamber West, particularly South Valley Services. They provide a very important service to our community, and it's good that they're here and that they were recognized. So congratulations to them. And other than that, I don't think I have any other comments, so thank you.
Shared this with some. I don't know if I've shared it with all. You'll recall a while back we had conversation about a potential rezone for the Mountain America Credit Union that was on Redwood Road at about 6800 South or so. You'll see that one had not been approved. That rezone was not approved by the council, but it looks like Golden West Credit Union is going in there now. So that's how that one resolved. With that, I don't have any other administrative items. We do have a closed session, and we cannot move to go to closed session then adjourn from there. So we'll just temporarily a motion to recess to convene the closed session, after which we'll come back and then formally close the meeting here.
So
Councilmember Green.
I move to convene or recess and convene a closed session of the West Jordan City Council.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Green, second by Councilmember Whitelock. For the benefit of anyone who's listening only, the motion that's written up, the reason for the closed session is to discuss character, professional competence, or physical or mental health of an individual pending a reasonably imminent litigation, the purchase, exchange, or lease of real property, or the sale of real property, including any form of a water right or water shares as provided by Utah code. That said, let's vote. Ms. Quick.
Councilmember Worthing,
Yes.
Councilmember Whitelock,
Yes.
Councilmember Green,
Yes.
Chair McConaughey.
Aye.
Councilmember Pack,
Yes.
Councilmember Jacob,
Yes.
Vice Chair Bloom.
Yes.
Thank you. That motion passes 7-0.
All right, we will recess and reconvene shortly.
Are we doing the closed session in this room? Okay, so we'll go upstairs. Go.
Stand adjourned.
If you want to do 3, I'll let you.
All right. Is that working online? This shows that our audio is coming through online as well. All right. We have a couple folks who stuck it out the whole time. Awesome. Okay. Well, the time is now 7:58 p.m. It's still Wednesday, September 13th. And the last item, we're reconvening after our recess. Only item left on our agenda is to adjourn. So I would look for a motion from the council.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Green, second by, before I do that, all members of the council are still here with the exception of Councilmember Worth. So with the dramatic music, we have a motion by Councilmember Green to adjourn, second by Councilmember Bloom. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, we stand adjourned. Special thanks to my little helper Ollie for banging the gavel on the adjourn.
Good job.